Your Xbox console is actually sitting on a hidden goldmine of some of the best games ever made, and you might just be ignoring half of them. Backwards compatibility isn't just a party trick for the Xbox, it's a way to play legendary titles better than they ever ran on original hardware. So whether you're sliding physical discs into a Series X or grabbing digital steals on a Series S, these are some absolute must-play games you should have been playing yesterday. It's always a good time to play Gears of War 3. The third entry in the iconic cover shooter series gives a glowy new sort of enemy for us to take down, the Lambent, as well as some sweet new tools to take them down with. Exploding an enemy from underneath with the Digger launcher is just mwah. But right now is an especially great time to check out Gears 3 for several reasons. It's available on Xbox Game Pass along with the rest of the series, including the stunning remake of the first game, Gears of War Reloaded. It now runs at a smooth 60 FPS thanks to FPS Boost, and it'll tee you up nicely for Gears of War E-Day, which comes day one to Xbox Game Pass on October 6th. Red Dead Redemption totally changed our idea of what a Rockstar open world game could be. And while you might be tempted to skip over it and go straight to its uber-acclaimed sequel, that would be a serious mistake, my friend. Because then you wouldn't get to experience the stunning Western world that Rockstar crafted, and all the incredible bits of emergent gameplay it contains, only some of which involve cannibalism. You wouldn't get to hear the epic tale of John Marston and learn how a cowboy becomes a cowman. You wouldn't know what it's like to hear that song filling the air as you ride into Mexico for the first time. And you really, really want to. Trust me. Now, if you really want to test your fighting skills, you'll have to travel to the place where the gamers of old mastered their craft, forsake the comforts of modernity and return to the ways of old. You will have to play Ninja Gaiden Black. The original Ninja Gaiden was already a gloriously brutal third-person actioner with lightning-fast combat and frighteningly aggressive enemies. Then the Black Edition came along with its Master Ninja difficulty mode, and honestly, some of us still haven't recovered. Me. I'm some of us. But if you take a liking to its ninja stylings, you can hop on over to Xbox Game Pass to check out Ninja Gaiden 2 Black and the two most recent releases, Ninja Gaiden 4 and Ragebound. It seemed like every game and its grandmother had a bullet time mechanic back in 2012, but Max Payne 3 was the one that really figured out how to incorporate it into the combat system that felt seamless and oh so satisfying. Combat mixes those John Woo moves with tactical cover taking and crunchy melee attacks. The linear level design funnels you from one adrenaline pumping scene to the next, while the gritty crime tale hits you with one shocking twist after another. Over a decade later, and you could still argue that no game has captured the playable action movie feel better than Max Payne 3. Left 4 Dead 2 is a sort of game that friendships were made on as we huddled together, desperately trying to survive another undead onslaught. The special sauce here was the AI Director 2.0, which would procedurally generate elements of the game based on your performance each time you played. So just when you felt like you had a handle on things, the next safe house was in sight and you were clearing out infected left and right, that's when it would suddenly drop a charger on you. And that's when you find out who your real friends are. Looking at you, Jerry. Look, you check out any of the Fallout games stocked in the Xbox Game Pass library and you're gonna have a good time. But if you're just dipping in to check out one of them, then Fallout New Vegas could be the pick. Its Las Vegas world is one of the most memorable locations in all of gaming, but it's the freedom that the game gives you to find your place in it that really makes this one special. From the skills you develop, to the friends and enemies that you make, right down to how you talk and even the way you wear your hat. Every choice you make in Fallout New Vegas comes with consequences that can ripple out through the desert in the most unexpected ways. SSX 3 was heralded as the greatest snowboarding game of all time thanks to its stunning visuals, banging soundtrack, and that perfect balance of accessibility and depth. Fun fact, SSX 3 actually inspired little Bex to take up snowboarding IRL. The controls are super intuitive, but you really have to master the game's mechanics if you want to rack up those big scores. So while it's easy to pick up and play, and an absolute blast in local multiplayer, it's also tricky. Tricky. But don't get up in the comments talking to me about that was the previous SSX game, blah, blah, blah. That's not the point. It'll just ruin my joke and make me sad. Do you want to do that? No, I didn't think so. But do get in the comments and tell me this. What's the best needle drop that you've ever seen in a video game? If you played the original Black Ops back in 2010, I could probably convince you to play it again with 2 little words: Dragon's Breath. But of course, that delightful incendiary shotgun wasn't the only thing that Black Ops had going for it. Treyarch's game offered an amazing gear switch for the series after 2 incredible Modern Warfares, taking us back to the 60s so that we could enjoy a Cold War thriller brimming with paranoia, deception, and geopolitical tension. The Xbox Game Pass library is currently stacked with Call of Duty titles too, by the way, so you're sorted whatever era of warfare you prefer. There have been some amazing Sonic the Hedgehog kart racing games over the years, despite the fact that putting a guy whose whole thing is running fast into a car just makes absolutely no sense at all. Like making Superman a playable character in Microsoft Flight Simulator, but he's not allowed to leave the plane. You get my point. Anyway, Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed is especially fun because your kart can turn into a boat or a plane, allowing you to race across all sorts of different terrain. Throw in a roster stacked with characters from Sonic, Super Monkey Ball, Jet Set Radio, and more, and you've got yourself quite the party. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to get back to writing this letter to Sega about hedgehogs not legally being able to hold driving licenses. Recommending The Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion is a bit like saying, hey, you know what's a good movie? The Godfather. But then again, they became classics for a reason. Oblivion basically opened a mystical doorway to a whole new realm of RPG gaming, bringing Tamriel to life in a way that we'd never seen before. Wander about town and everyone you bumped into was an individual with their own routine, personality, and this was really massive at the time, voice. With all the quests to undertake, skills to master, people to meet, and magical paintings to accidentally enter, the whole place just felt truly magical. It's a proper milestone game, and you can check out both the OG, backwards compatible version, and the lush remaster with the Xbox Game Pass. And while we're speaking Elder Scrolls, did you see that Asha has actually played the Elder Scrolls 6? Give us your best guesses for what that name is going to be down below. Crimson Sky's High Road to Revenge strips away the intimidatingly complex controls, frighteningly realistic physics, and tricky landing maneuvers of a flight sim game to make for a lean, mean arcade flying machine. Soar through its open world and you'll quickly find yourself duking it out with enemies in a spirited dogfight, or going propeller to propeller in a high-speed race. Or, you know, as high speed as 1930s planes could be anyway. If you've been combing the Xbox Game Pass library for a bona fide classics, you'll no doubt have booted up Fable II. This endlessly charming action RPG took everything we loved about the first one and made it bigger and better. You can now live an even richer life in Albion, spending your time raising a family, mastering the blacksmithing arts, or just hanging out in the taverns. Combat let you string together seamless combos of magic, melee, and firearm attacks. The choices you made were more complex, and the effects they had were too. And to top it all off, you got a dog. Oh. Fable 2 is still considered by a lot of folks to be the very best in the series. Of course, that could all change when the new Fable comes day one to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate next year. Would you be interested in playing one of the most critically acclaimed horror games of all time? Would you like to explore an underwater world full of twisted experiments and inexplicably sinister jazz music? Would you like to wield an array of elemental powers and also a Tommy gun as you take on one of the most iconic enemies in the entire history of gaming? If the answer to any or all of those questions is yes, then what can I say but would you kindly give Bioshock a go? Years before Forza came along to expand our horizons, Midnight Club Los Angeles changed the game by giving players a great sprawling city to drive over at their leisure. Although leisurely is not really how I describe most of what goes on in this game. Midnight Club LA is all about high-speed street races and hectic police chases, screeching round tight street corners and tearing it up on the highway. It's about putting pink slips on the line and going all out, and it's about doing whatever it takes to gain the edge and hit the finish line first. Hey, even if that means blasting your opponent with an EMP. Darth Vader's big reveal, Darth Maul activating the other blade, Darth Sidious returning, somehow, There are certain Star Wars moments that immediately etch themselves into your mind forever, and playing Knights of the Old Republic is definitely one of them. Because there have been tons of fun Star Wars games over the years, but this RPG on the OG Xbox was the first one that made you truly feel like you were living out your own story in the galaxy far, far away. Through choices big and small, you got to choose whether you would end up on the light side of the Force or the dark one, unlocking incredible powers and altering the fate of the entire galaxy along the way. Grand Theft Auto has been on our minds a lot recently, and if you've been playing through some of Rockstar's classic games in anticipation of the new one, then make sure to drop in on our old pal Nico at some point, because GTA 4 might just be the unsung hero of the whole series. The harsh grey streets of Liberty City are the perfect setting for a gritty, grounded crime tale that felt a million miles away from the overtop antics of the previous games. With its dark, complicated characters and brutal plot twists, it was like playing through a crime film from the 70s. Although it is still a GTA game after all, so there's still plenty of room for wacky radio DJs, automotive calamities, and the occasional unprovoked rocket launcher attack. Yeah, you probably noticed we really love Rockstar stuff in this video, but can you blame us? What about you? Are you more of a gangster, or a cowboy, a police detective maybe? A bully? I hope not. Dead Space is such an iconic survival horror game that the follow-up might actually be a little slept on, which is nuts because it adds so much to the first game's splattery formula. There's more zero-G sections where you can move around in 360 degrees, and the meaty new combat options like using severed alien limbs as gross but undeniably effective weapons. And there's the fact that Isaac can talk now, and he somehow has more to say than just, "Ah, monsters, ah," which is pretty much all you get out of me. If chopping space mutants up with industrial equipment is your jam, you really need to grab yourself an Xbox Game Pass subscription, because Dead Space 2 is there along with the rest of the series and the 2023's stunning remake of the original game. Another OG Xbox banger and the clear winner to the category of games whose titles make you sound like you're talking to Jabba the Hutt, we've got Panzer Dragoon Orta. This on-rail shooter puts you on the back of a big old dragon and sends you flying through 10 beautifully crafted levels, each of which are filled with deadly enemies and each of which are just begging for you to go all Targaryen on them. Panzer Dragoon Orta can now run in 4K at up to 60 FPS on the Xbox Series X too. So, if you had been holding off starting your dragon riding career until the technology caught up, now is the time. Okay, we've got one more game to cover, but before we reveal our final favourite, let us know about the games that you hope to see join Back Compat in the future. You never know what could happen. Telling you that there's an awesome Halo game available in the Xbox Game Pass library is a bit of a fork found in kitchen situation, but while we're all bouncing between the nostalgia of Campaign Evolved and the modern thrills of Infinite, it's easy to overlook the likes of Halo Reach. Don't though, because Reach was basically the culmination of everything Bungie had been doing with the series up to that point. Its campaign is exhilarating, with vast levels that have been built to accommodate up to 4 players and enemies that are smart enough to give even the tightest Spartan squad a serious challenge. Combat that has distinctive Halo feel while adding in new features like the jetpack, and honestly, what game couldn't be improved by adding in jetpack? And multiplayer was made better than ever with an expanded Forge 2.0 and the endlessly Moorish Horde mode Firefight. Whatever your first Halo game was, you should definitely make Reach your next one. Once you're done with all these amazing old games, make sure you circle back here so we can tell you about the new ones that are on the way. We'll see you next time. Bye!